Hey, what's up guys? This is fRod, the head coach of the T1 Valorant team. Today we're going to be looking at patch 1.1, kind of talk about some of the things that are going on with the game, new map, new metas, things going on. So hope you all enjoy the video. Stay tuned. When it comes to Icebox, I think that the map is good. I think that right now it's probably a little bit too big. Some of the bomb sites are far apart, and there's so much going on in the middle with like all these crates and verticality. I think that there's going to be probably some changes, and maybe that they'll shrink it down in certain elements and kind of like tighten up the map. But if they kind of keep it this way, then I really think that all the agents that have verticality element to their kit are the ones that are going to shine the brightest. So like Raze, for example, using the satchels, Omen with the TPs, Jet with the updrafts, Sage maybe may come back with the wall. Basically anyone that can kind of get up 2 spots solo. Against certain agents you're going to have to worry about them being there, like Brim, Breach, things like that, like on top of these crates that like you can't really get up to. And granted, some you could jump there and get high angles and stuff like that, but for the most part it's going to only really come from the ones that can get there with their own kit. Now for example, like a recon agent, like maybe like a Sova, I don't know if it's going to be really easy for him, simply because a lot of things are like hanging overhead. So like a bomb site's in an enclosed environment. If you shoot the roof, pings will go all the way to the down, so it's like really hard to like ping certain areas. So I think that Sova is going to have like a more difficult time. But then when you start looking at the new agent like Skye, I think that that's one that's going to be different, because if you have a kit that can pretty much seek out the opponent, horizontal environment versus like verticality with like the Sova recon darts, I think that in this way Skye might be more viable on other agents. So when we're talking about like some of the competitive updates, I think that it's really good, to be honest. Like when it comes to the preferred server, I think that that's a really huge aspect, because sometimes you don't want to try, you don't want to take the chance of being forced on like a server like all the way on the opposite coast if you're getting really bad ping. So I think that's something that's really big. The actual like rank disparity I think also helps a lot as well, because if you're like a solo player or you play at like maybe random hours, you might queue say you're like Immortal 3 or even Radiant, you know, if you're queuing 6 tiers below you could get put in a pretty low quality game. The actual the promotions from Immortal will be impacted purely by wins and losses, not by the like the stats and whatnot. So I think that's good too, because that forces players to want to win games rather than play for stats and to try and like, hey, even if we lose, as long as I get a green tick up arrow, I'm okay. Like for example, like now like the deathmatch, I think the deathmatch is also like a really good element. You know, adding 14 players and 10 more kills is big, because that was kind of the one thing that people had a lot of complaints that it was like very difficult to like find people, and then the people who were like walking or abusing the what they call the UAV, the radar, you know, kind of pulsing at enemies, kind of not the purpose of a DM, if that makes sense. You know, the purpose of a DM is to get like a bunch of shots in, frag out a little bit, run around, warm up your mouse, your recoil and your shooting patterns, and then, you know, kind of jump right into the game. You know, not necessarily like this is kind of like a different style, I guess. The server, like the FPS is now dropping a lot more because there's so many more players, so many more things going on. So I hope that they may have like some quality changes that can maybe impact the game in a way that it won't be so, you know, draining on your FPS, but we'll see. The fact that you get like kills on reloads is really big too, because you can kind of maintain the momentum of getting more frags rather than having to like reload, risk dying, maybe run after like one of those health packs that regenerate everything. And you could even waste all your ammo if you're like really on one, you know. So now these things become a lot more balanced, which is really good. Tournament mode enable custom games, so now allow 12 observers. I think they're kind of trending in the right direction, putting 12 more observer slots, because they didn't do anything for coaches, which is extremely frustrating, and I know that all the coaches in this scene are very frustrated at that. But the fact that they've at least now added observer slots is going to help that out, because if you're going to have 2 coaches and you're going to have observers, they had to open up more observer slots than the 2 they originally had. So technically there wasn't really no room for coaches given the observer slots. Now you still can't select what team you're observing, which means, and you can't lock it in, which means that like coaches are still not going to be allowed in the scrimmages, which is going to be, you know, kind of unfortunate, because the coaches, if you can not be locked into a specific team, you can then just start looking at the other enemy team, recording and all these kind of different things. So it's like coaches are not really watching any games when it comes to being live in Valorant. We have to have one of our players Discord stream or YouTube private stream or something like that to be able to get some sort of live feed onto like what's going on in the game, give our tips and advice, write some notes down, and then, you know, we kind of go from there. But I think that this is trending in the right direction. I think that once they put something like this in, it at least gives them the ability to implement the technology, which will be able to like lock coaches in and whatever. So we'll see. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video on patch 1.10. You know, there's a lot of different changes, quality of life, new map, new agent coming out pretty soon. I'm sure they're going to be doing a lot of hot fixes. So next video we'll probably have a little bit more of a chat about some of the changes that have been made from this video, simply because so much has happened, so much needs to continue to happen, that I'm only assuming that the next patch is going to be you know, pretty significant one as well. So again, hope you guys enjoyed it. Subscribe and like to the video. If you have any questions or any comments or anything, that any of the videos that you may like us to watch in the future, go ahead and drop that down below. All right, later guys.